So here is our grid of fraction values. We've got wholes and halves, quarters, eighths, sixteenths. Now what these pieces are going to represent for us in music is if we start here on the left and we run from left to right at a steady pace, this is the length of time that a particular note is going to make noise. So if we start here, it would be like doo, and this would be, two of those would be doo, 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 doo. Are you ready for it? This is exciting. All right.
A beat is a foot tap. If there's 4 beats in the measure, that means you would count 4 foot taps per measure. If a note receives 1 beat, that means you would count 1 foot tap per note. Some notes fall on the downbeat. That means you play the note when your foot goes down. And some notes fall on the upbeat. That means you play the note when your foot goes up. A metronome is an electric foot tap. A drummer is a guy who plays foot taps, and a band director is someone who waves their arms to tell you when to tap your foot.
All right, we're going to start with our fractions set up again, just as a review, so you remember we've got whole, halves, quarters, eighths, and sixteenths. Now what I want to do is give you tips on hand drawing notes, because I watch people take a lot of time to make them just so, and you don't have to work quite that hard. And this should also help you remember what each symbol looks like for each shape. So we'll start with our whole note. Let me pull these guys out of the way for you. So to draw a whole note, this is the simplest one. All it is, a circle. All right, draw a circle. You don't have to fill it in. Some people will spend a lot of time making the edges look fat so it looks the way the computer does it. But none of us can draw like a computer. We don't write the way we type, and it's the same thing with notes. You don't need to write the way you type. So a little simple circle will be fine. Plain old boring circle. There's your whole note. So for a half note, you start with your whole note circle, and you're going to add a stem. This is the stem. It's the addition to your half note. With your half note shape, just like that, you're going to add a creamy filling, kind of like a ding-dong. Anybody eats those anymore? So that's our quarter note. Oh, my stem is a little short, but creamy filling, this is your quarter note.
So any note value can receive 1 beat. Usually a quarter note gets 1 beat because that's what we have in 4/4 time or common time. But common time doesn't mean always time, it means usually. So quarter notes usually get a beat, but regardless of which note gets 1 beat, there's always 2 halves in a whole, there's always 4 quarters in a whole, there's always 8 eighths in a whole, so the relationship between the notes stays the same. The musical alphabet is the first 7 letters of the alphabet. And the musical alphabet, you need to practice it going forward and backward. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, G, F, E, D, C, B, A. And those will be the letter names that we use to name the lines and spaces of the staff and also to name the notes. Low A.
A flat major, 2 octaves, scale pattern.
D major, 2 sharps, F sharp, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, D. D major, 2 sharps.
exercise number 3.
Okay, so number 14, now we have an exercise that's 2 lines long. That's pretty long. And you'll notice after the 4th measure you have breath mark. And at the end of the line there's not a breath mark, but that's where we need to breathe. We'll talk about that in just a second. And then your 2nd line at the end of the 4th measure is a breath mark. And then of course at the end of the song we don't need a breath mark because we just breathe as human beings. That's what we do after we finish playing, is we breathe. Otherwise it could be detrimental. So let's talk about why we go 4 measures on a breath. These are what we call musical sentences, or phrases is the technical term for it. You'll hear your directors or other musicians talk about phrasing. That's about how long you go on a breath.
Next we're going to talk about assembly and hand position. So, as we did before, to assemble the flute, you're going to grab it by the collar, grab it by the foot joint, and then twist, twist, twist. Line up the bar again with the center of the keys, and then grab the head joint at the base, twist, twist, twist. Now at this point you should already have your nail polish dots. I have 2 little dots there that I line it up, and always keep it about a fingertip out. Now I usually start with the right hand. So what we're going to do is you're going to hold the flute in front of you and you're going to shake out your right hand. So make sure it's nice and relaxed, and then you're just going to let it come toward the flute, and you want your index finger, thumb to be under your index or your middle or between the 2. I usually try to aim for index finger, so if you tap, tap, tap on your thumb, it should be just like that on the flute. And then you go 1, 2, 3, and then the side of your pinky goes on the pinky key at the bottom. Now that's the easy hand.
We're going to talk about the embouchure and how to get a sound out of the clarinet. And to do that, we'll start with just the top 2 parts of the clarinet, which are the mouthpiece and the barrel. And this is pretty cool because we get to break all the rules when we do this. Now the mouthpiece and the reed, all that's assembled. We talked about that before. Now when you blow through this mouthpiece, what I want you to think about is blowing air through like a straw. Like if you've ever had a milkshake or anything like that, just think about blowing air through a straw. And what I'd like you to do is just take the mouthpiece, and I'll do it, and then at home I want you to be thinking about doing this yourself. I'm just going to lay it right on the bottom of my lip, right just like that. And with this mouthpiece, I'm just going to push my bottom lip just slightly over my teeth. Now I'm going to bring my top teeth down, boom, like that. Now I'm going to blow like a straw. That's it. Can you do that?
Now we're going to talk about blowing and tonguing on the bassoon. To do this, I'm going to show you using a part of the instrument, the bocal and the reed. Remember that the bocal and the reed go straight into your mouth, and using good embouchure, You're going to breathe from your bottom lip and blow. We do something called tonguing also. And to do this, take your tongue, the tip of the front, and put it on the beginning part of the reed. Start blowing, but produce no sound. Then release your tongue. When we start the sounds of every note, we start it with our tongue, unless otherwise stated. That was slow motion tonguing. Fast motion tonguing is like this. Where the tip of your tongue touches the tip of the reed, interrupting the airstream. That's tonguing and blowing on the bassoon.
Buzzing on the mouthpiece is how you get the sound to come out of the instrument. And we talked earlier about the this being the instrument and the instrument being the amplifier. So I'll expand that analogy a little bit more. If you have an electric guitar and you're playing it unplugged, and you can kind of play it, but it's not real great, when you plug it into the amplifier, all it's going to do is sound not great louder. And so what you want to do is you want to make sure that you get this working the way that it needs to be working, and then when you plug it into the instrument, it's going to sound better, and then you'll have the sound that you want, the sound that your teachers want. So what we're going to do is we're going to you breathe the exact same way. You always take the breath the same way, and then we're going to buzz, and I want you to try and buzz the same pitch that I'm buzzing. And I don't have anything on me right now to tell me what pitch it is, but just it's like a middle of the road type of a pitch, so that you can find it kind of easily. Let's do that again. Ready? Breathe. One more time. Ready? Breathe. Now that should feel comfortable. If you're feeling kind of a tingly feeling in the bottom lip or in the top lip, that's perfectly normal. If you feel pain at any time, that's not perfectly normal. So you need to stop and adjust and figure out why you're feeling pain. Now we're going to change the pitch. Now, when I talk about changing the pitch, you're going to make it higher, you're going to make it lower. All I think about is to make it higher, I blow colder air and I blow it down like that. And to make it lower, I blow warmer air and I blow it forward like that. And you can even hear just the sound of the air coming out change in pitch. And you should have heard it go higher there.
Hello there. We're going to talk a little bit now about the tuba, and we're going to be looking at the different parts of the instrument. Tuba is, as you probably already know, is the largest of the brass family. You know, it's a big instrument. It's got some very big parts. It's got, at this end, the biggest end is the bell, and that's where the sound comes out. In between the other end is what we have the valves, and those go up and down. We'll look more at those later. We have tuning slides. This tunes the whole horn. It'll come out if you need to take it out. You shouldn't have to generally do that, and it should go back in as well. It's movable, so you can tune the instrument. Each of the valves has a slide on it, so you can tune that valve. And then at this end, we have the mouthpiece. Now the mouthpiece is very important, and there's all different sizes and slightly different shapes. And it's something you have to be very personable with. You need to make sure you keep it clean. When you put it in the instrument, you want to put it in and give it a gentle twist to the right usually, and that'll kind of lock it in place. You don't want it falling out so it gets dented. You want to take care of your mouthpiece because that's what's on your face all the time, and you want it to be nice and clean and comfortable in your face.